On April 24th, an Aegis cruiser named the USS Lawrence went through the Straits of Taiwan. Here's what you need to know, and here's what's important.
Look at this.
Okay, Rebels. So essentially, what happened is the cruiser goes through as usual. China escalates it, but they're actually escalating it pretty far. And not only that, there's a lot of other stuff that's going on behind the scenes that is not being talked about. You probably won't hear this on U.S. media or anything else like that. But let's kind of walk through step by step of what happened. So the cruiser goes through, then there's a public press conference saying the U.S. is not welcome. The U.S. keeps going. Then the ships say you're not welcome here, and instead of responding back, the USS Lawrence decided not to respond, and so it goes through. There's jets that come up that come within its certain radius. Now there is a way where, like, if it gets too close, it's going to get shot down. See, that's the part that you really need to be concerned about is if it gets too close by accident, they miss the line, all these other things, this could easily escalate into something very specific. And this was done intentionally, not only to do a show of power between the allies that are working together, but we're also talking about what China is going to do and kind of looking at what their response. So everybody's starting to tip their hand of what's going on because while this cruiser was going through the Strait of Taiwan over on a Filipino beach, there is a joint exercise where Marines are landing on the beach. They're practicing amphibious assault. You've also got Taiwan that use that as an opportunity for a distraction to be able to relocate, move things around, get more readiness, because everybody's starting to prepare to see what's going to happen next. Not everybody knows what's going to happen next, but everybody's starting to look to see what is going to happen next. And so this is really what's starting to escalate it because then China starts moving its forces. It starts taking ships that were in for maintenance and starts putting them out because it's not sure if the United States is going to use this as a way to move forward and move in. And plus, they want to do a show of force to be able to show how ready they can be and how quickly they can be able to pull things, out of dry dock so that they can get out there and respond to a crisis because right now both sides are trying to provoke each other. You will see a lot of rhetoric and that's going to be going back and forth, and that's just kind of going to be the way it is. But on the other hand, what you're not seeing is that if one thing goes wrong because everybody's pushing that red line and pushing a little bit harder. Normally, we just send cruisers through just as a show that of force, so that we can let China know that they're not the boss. And now China's starting to push back, especially with this trade war, especially with this being decoupled, especially with the fact that they want back Taiwan. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so both sides are at contentions. Both sides are hoping to have something like Gulf of Tonkin incident for those of you old enough to remember how the Vietnam War started, or even just remember a lot of the stories around it because you grew up in that era. Now, I was an 80s baby, so I grew up in the 80s. But for those of you that survived that, that's something that maybe you can share down in the comments. What it was like, what happened, what was it that really kind of set the public off from more of your viewpoint versus well, you can go look it up in the textbooks and you've got a bunch of brains that figure it out, but the people who lived it know why they moved. It's not you can sit there and have scholars that look at it all day long, but it's the people that live through it that really have the best knowledge of what's going on. So if you know anything about this, please leave it down in the comments. But this is going to be something that is being pushed. Now, China just did something to Taiwan, and so as they started pushing on Taiwan, also up in the north, the North Pacific, around Japan. We were also doing maneuvers there. I mean, we're starting to show. We're showing them what we're going to do so that they can show us what they're going to do. And so therefore we see what they're going to do, and now we understand their capabilities. We see how quickly they can get mobilized. We see all these different things. And so China is being forced to respond, because if China sits back and does nothing, one, that would probably de-escalate things in a way, because when there's unsurety, because China realizes that you're trying to get them to tip their hand, at that point in time, you um, uh, you kind of lose the ability to be able to provoke. But because China's playing into it, because they want to assert control and dominance, because this is ours, and they in the whole founding of the Communist Party in China was that the world had stole all everything from them, and so now they want to go back and reassert themselves, and they don't ever want to be robbed like that ever again. Look at the opium wars between Great Britain and China, and you'll kind of understand how China has been has been the redheaded stepchild of the East for a long time, probably about as long as Russia. But this is something that you as an individual should keep an eye on. Things are starting to spark up, inflame. Each side is trying to provoke each other, and you should be, keeping an eye open. Well, thanks for watching, Rebels. If you like this type of content, click subscribe. Let me know down in the comments that you like this, because I'm trying to figure out what it is that I do that is going to bring back my audience that I had, because I've switched from talking about one subject to another subject. So if you guys want to leave me something down in the comments, and if you're anti-AI, you might as well just not even leave a comment. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.